consumer drives it all. They have so much more access to research and more channels, and so the consumers are in charge. And so being able to help that business run on those channels and being able to have performance drive that agnostically so that you don't have to decide where the dollars go. The technology does that for you.
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Welcome to Winning on Main Street. I'm Gordon Henry, and thanks for joining us. The American economy is driven by small business, local business people who want to work for themselves and build something successful. And today we're fortunate to be speaking with Sandy Lohr, CEO of Matchcraft. Matchcraft is one of the leading players in providing online advertising services for small businesses across the United States and internationally. Welcome, Sandy.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Gordon.
Thanks for joining us. Where are you speaking to us today from?
I am in Los Angeles, just down the street from our headquarters in Santa Monica.
Sounds great. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the company. We want to talk a little bit about general business, what's going on in the small business community today, and then we'll finish up a little bit on you, Sandy Lohr. So let's go. What does Matchcraft do to make a living?
Well, it sounds like we're a dating firm, but we're not. And so Matchcraft is the craft of matching buyers and sellers. And we do that by helping local businesses run their advertising campaigns. And we do that through resellers or digital marketing companies that are the ones that are dealing with the local business, and they need a way to do that at scale.
Awesome. And how long have you been in business? We've
been around 22 years, amazingly, this month, which is something pretty unusual in the tech world.
Incredible.
And yes, so that's been good. And we've been doing that in a way that has expanded into search, social, and display.
So search, yeah, I mean, it's 2020. I think Google was invented in like 1997. So I don't think you were probably selling much Google in 1998, which would be 22 years ago. What were you selling originally, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah. So originally it was set up with the different search engines that existed then, and it evolved. We actually beat Google by 2 months in terms of incorporating, so the same year. And it's evolved from there, but we've kept true to that mission of just however the consumers have changed and whatever channels they're using. And of course, Google has become a mainstay for us for a number of years. And so that's helped us, and we've actually expanded globally. So we're actually in 44 countries helping clients in all those countries.
Fascinating. And any idea how many clients, how many small business clients you serve today or you provide advertising services for?
Sure. So we have, let's see, I look every morning. So this morning we had close to 60,000. We were at 58,000 campaigns. And those are coming to us, though. We have 75 clients across the globe. So the clients, like Thryv, need a way to run for thousands of campaigns and be able to do that at scale. And so that's where we come in, is to make that process manageable.
It's fascinating. You say you operate in so many countries internationally. How is it different in different countries? Is the process of providing the advertising services different in other places?
I would tell you that I think consumers' channels are different. While you have Google, Bing, Facebook, you can have different channels in different countries that have different weights, and consumers use them uniquely in those countries. Certainly search terms are different. You will find in different countries. I know you and I have an interest in education and looking for where our kids are going to college and all of that. And those things are different by country. Healthcare, which is a big category in the US, is not so big when you have socialized medicine in a country. So there's nuances there. And some of the go-to-market strategy is unique. You find different patterns, and it's good for us. We spend a lot of time consulting with clients and having them try different things or share what we see as experiences across the globe and how it's evolved from the old days of just pay per click to really being more budget based now.
Fascinating. And how would you say the business has changed most over the years? Has it just become more technology focused? What's changed over the past 22 years?
Yeah, I think that the consumer drives it all, and consumers have so much, they have so much more access to research and more channels. And so the consumers are in charge. They rule. And I can remember a retailer, this will date me, but an educated consumer is our best customer.
Five Sims.
Yeah, you got it. And that used to be a novelty. I remember that was such a unique statement, like, hey, go ahead, do your research, do your shopping, come to us, we're the best. And now consumers can do that all the time. So they've added more channels. There's more touch points that you have to have. And I think how it's changed in terms specifically for Matchcraft is adding more channels. So it used to be just Google, and now Bing, Facebook, Instagram, soon to be Yelp, and all the display channels. And so simplifying that is a key, because the business, and they don't care where it runs. And so being able to help that business run on those channels agnostically based on performance, it's hard to be simple. I mean, that always makes it's more complex to simplify. And so that's what we've really focused on in the last few years, and being able to have performance drive that agnostically so that you don't have to decide where the dollars go. The technology does that for you.
Now, you have an interesting business model. If I'm correct, you work only through partners, right? You don't go direct to the small business customer. You have a partner in all cases. Is that, you're nodding, so that's right. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
And what kind of partners do you have? Are these, I guess, all types, newspapers, former Yellow Page companies?
Yes.
Can you expand?
We do. We have newspapers, Yellow Page companies. We also have a large group of broadcast companies. We have advertising agencies. And so it's any type of business that needs to reach hundreds, thousands of local businesses and run campaigns for them. We power as a white label. We're kind of the hidden secret behind several self-serve platforms that I can't mention, but it's good to know that capability is there so that we can help others grow that business. And we're behind the scenes working in a lot of other ways. And so I think all of that has been a winning formula for us.
Yeah, well, anybody who can stay in business for 22 years and flourish as you have deserves a lot of congratulations, because I remember some of those early search engines you're talking about, like Alta Vista and Excite, and some of those old names, and none of them are around anymore. So, it's changed quite a bit. Let's just turn a little bit to the small business climate today. You hear about it, read about it in the news with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and the PPP program and other government programs. How has COVID-19 impacted your business?
So first, I'll just start as operationally, and Matchcraft, because we have teams throughout the globe, we had a large population working remote, and we were all equipped to work remote. So being able to switch from partial remote to 100% remote was not an issue for us. We did have to help our clients with that and help them go through that process. Being global, we hit the wave first coming out of Europe. And so in February, we actually started to see the impact, especially in Italy. And so that also was interesting for us to see that ripple effect and seeing how it progressed and to all of our regions. And I think the business climate, it's been interesting because the small businesses, the longer that they have to be closed, the higher the risk that it will become permanent and not temporary. And so that's, I think, the most important metric that we're watching right now. Yelp came out with some great data. The Washington Post carried the story, and it's encouraged everyone to look at it. But they went through state by state, and it was based in the US, which is where their stronghold is. And they actually came out and were able to show by category, with restaurants being the largest, which makes sense with Yelp. But their studies, and this is going direct to the business, are showing that 55% of the businesses that are closed today will be permanently closed.
Wow.
And I've followed many other studies. Harvard came out with one. The New York City Economic Authority came out with one, and none of them are showing that high of a percentage. But whatever that percentage is crucial. And so as we look at our client base, we were actually protected in several ways. One was geographically. Having a diversity in regions and not getting all hit at one time from one place.
Yep.
And the second was the diversity of those almost 60,000 campaigns that are running, because we didn't have everything that was in retail, or everything in restaurants, or everything in the service category. And the service category is actually held up as one of the strongest.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important. And then I think the other interesting aspect, if I can switch just to consumers for a minute, is consumers are really making a play that it's not just Amazon that's winning here. They really want to shop local, and they're really trying to support having those businesses. And so the dynamics of how people are promoting, I was listening yesterday that a local Ace Hardware guy, who it's family owned, and he had his daughter on there, cutest thing ever. Just, come shop with me and my daddy, because it's our family. This is a family owned business. And before you go to that thing with an orange sign down the street, check us out at Ace Hardware. And I think as consumers, we really want that. I know I do. I'm looking for it. We didn't even know what buy it online, pick up at the store was, and curbside delivery, and all of these things have become huge search terms. And instead of location near me, now it's who's open, and where can I go pick it up. So anyway, I think all of those things are really important trends. And from a local business, there's a great chance to gain market share. They have to be creative. I'll share personally, yesterday, I actually had a pedicure with a pop-up sidewalk pedicure stand, with plastic shields around me on the sidewalk in LA. And so they're being creative in how to survive, and hopefully more than that projection from Yelp will come out of this.
Yeah, great stuff, great stories. And I agree, in particular, the service space, service community, home services, and other kind, legal, medical, many of them have done pretty well, particularly the home services, I think, because so many people are sort of stuck at home, and you're looking at things that you'd like to fix, whether it's, your roof or your backyard, or, so people are calling service providers, and those businesses are in many cases doing well. I think I saw that it's like the best year for pools in ages, because nobody's traveling. So people are saying, I'm going to put in that pool that I've been thinking about all those years. So there are some winners.
I saw, this is a fun one, Bed Bath & Beyond, their sale of their bread makers is up 3,000%.
Right. Yeah, that's what people do when they're home.
Yeah.
How does the next few months look for you? Are you optimistic? Are things starting to get better? What do you see?
Yes, I want to knock on wood. So our bottom was in April for across the company, March for Europe, but April for the rest. We've had consecutive growth months, month over month, since that bottom. I think the real issue is going to be whether you want to call it wave 2, whether you want to call it the resurgence of wave 1, whether you want to call it hotspots. The issue of opening businesses safely so that consumers can shop again, that's the key. And of course, if we could get a vaccine, that would certainly help. But we're optimistic. And I think a lot of that, again, is we've been truly blessed from a resiliency standpoint because of the diversity of the
Yeah.
types of clients we have.
Yeah.
And they're taking the lead for us. We listen to them. And so we don't have that direct control, but it all depends on if we are really going to be, and if we can adjust, and this is the new norm, and this is how we're going to live, and we accept it and go on, and we can start to open these businesses. I think that is very positive. So we're hopeful that April was our low, and that we can continue to see. We have of our top clients, we have 3 that are actually at pre-COVID levels right now, and that's diverse. One's in Europe and 2 are in the US. And they're operating at pre-COVID levels. Now, they jumped on it ahead of time and got very, very creative in how to help those local businesses. What can they be doing to stay in business and help them with that messaging, instead of just pausing, going through shutting down campaigns? They worked very creative. They reduced spend, but worked creatively, and it helped those businesses. And so it's things like that that are really encouraging, and the fact that those are our top accounts. On the flip side, we have some smaller clients that probably aren't going to survive. And so they might be heavier in tourism, heavier in the Caribbean, and where there's been other factors. And so I think we're optimistic. We hope that there's certainly going to be a ripple effect. Consumers without work and layoffs are going to have a ripple effect. The government funding, wherever it is across the globe, is ending.
Yeah.
And so there's some ripple effect. GDP was a major concern, 33% decline in the US. The consolidated Eurozone was down 12%. So those are some big hits. Yeah. And even Sweden dropped to a new low in modern history, and it was off 9%. So it's that those ripple effects are a big concern.
All right. Wow, thanks. We're going to just take a quick break, let you take a sip of water if you want, and we'll be right back with Matchcraft CEO Sandy Lohr.
This episode of Winning on Main Street is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that includes everything small business owners need to meet their customers' expectations. Thryv's award-winning and fully mobile interface delivers technology previously reserved for big business to the fingertips of small business owners nationwide. Thryv's built specifically for small business, but there's nothing small about what it can do. Thryv handles your entire customer experience, helping business owners reach more customers, stay organized, get paid faster, and generate online reviews, all from a single device or screen. To learn more about Thryv, visit winningonmainstreet.com and click on Get a Demo. When it comes to software to run your business, there's no comparison. Check out Thryv today.
All right, we're back with Matchcraft CEO Sandy Lohr. Great conversation about the search business and advertising business around the world in different countries and how different countries and businesses are reacting to COVID-19. So fascinating stuff. We're going to get now into kind of more the general world of search and some of the big topics that are dominating the headlines today. So there's been hearings in Washington recently. We've heard about big tech speaking to Congress. Actually, it's all been virtual. I think they had Bezos and Tim Cook and Zuckerberg and the head of Google, Alphabet, all on Zoom, speaking to Congress. But a lot of interest in big tech and what to do about it. Is it too powerful and things like that? So you interact with these companies in a way on a daily basis. What's your feeling about it? Is Google too powerful? Should we break it up?
Well, first, I would say no. Google, we believe in capitalism. We were a little offended that we didn't get invited to the hearings, but we'll get over that. But no, I think that our biggest concerns are privacy issues and how they're using the data and whether that's disclosed, and that consumers need to be kept. they need to be accountable for that. And so that would be our biggest issue. But I think there are so many things that consumers can be doing now to protect themselves. And I think really a lot of this needs to be an education of that. I know I was talking to one of my colleagues this morning, and he uses DuckDuckGo on his phone because he was trying to avoid any issues of privacy, which is completely privacy. I don't see them becoming the next Google, but there are other options. And you can clean your cookies all the time. I will tell you that I think people also have this misnomer that that cookies are bad. And I certainly think that personally, it's great to have something that is more targeted and have messages delivered to me that are targeted. Now, when I'm having a conversation and all of a sudden I'm getting targeted based on a conversation and nothing I searched for, that's a little unnerving. And so you have to learn how to make sure you've disconnected the allowance that you gave, the permission you gave to one of the apps you have on. And so there's things like that you just, I think educating consumers is going to be a bigger piece than breaking up any of them. But I do think there's certainly some things are being called out for. There will be changes made. And, but no, I don't think there's going to be or needs to be a breakup of Google.
And do you see the same, view it the same way basically for Facebook, Amazon, and Apple? Any differences between all of those companies?
Yeah, no, I think I would say the same for all of them. There's been alternatives for each of them in order to be able to compete. And look, they compete with each other. There's no question that right now, Google's very concerned about losing ad share. They've lost ad share to Amazon and Facebook. And so there's a wake-up call across the board, but I think the fact that they're competing with each other, I think Apple's probably in a different league. Certainly not from the advertising side, the same player that you see. And so I found them interesting, how they approached it, whether they were defensive and so there's, I think there will be changes made. Those will be mostly, I think, self-driven if they're smart. And I'm much more concerned about their hiring practices, their pay practices. Tech took a pretty big hit as an industry a few years ago with the Google Manifesto. So it's been, I mean, certainly at Matchcraft, diversity and inclusion is one of our mainstays. It's just core to our DNA. And the fact that that came out and the stories after, I mean, that's, I think, a bigger concern to us. But privacy-wise, I think educating consumers is key on how to protect yourself and making them accountable, the big guys, accountable for their use of data, and for consumers to understand that the algorithms they're using are based on consumers doing searches across all consumers. And so it's not just them personally. So that's important.
Yeah, well said. Just one last question, then we'll move on. We're talking about small business today. Amazon obviously is a huge piece of the economy now. Is it getting too hard to be a small business because you're competing with Amazon? I mean, do you see a point where it's like there's only one company sending us stuff to our houses and there is no more Ace Hardware? Business?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because a lot of Amazon's business is obviously working with small businesses as well, and they've really made a play for that. I don't know if you followed what Walmart's doing recently, both in acquisitions of tech, but also the Walmart.com includes a lot of opportunities for small businesses, and Google's trying to follow suit, making it actually free, not taking a transaction fee. I do believe that Amazon's marketplace will continue to thrive. I think there's ways to help businesses, small businesses, understand what items they can compete with without losing all their margin, and how to compete on Amazon, and how to understand what products and what SKUs they should put on versus which ones they shouldn't. And so I think there's an opportunity to have them thrive using Amazon partially, but how to reduce the over-reliance on that, I think, is really important as messaging for shopping and helping with e-commerce for local businesses. I also think local businesses that aren't doing e-commerce are not going to survive. That especially with us as consumers, with the need to do that. And there's so many, all the conflicts of pay methods and distribution there's so many ways to help them now that I can't think of a business that you can deal with that you can either go to, pick it up curbside, or have it delivered on your doorstep. And Amazon actually, at least where I've been in LA, of all places, Prime delivery has taken a hit. It's no longer on my doorstep same day or next day. Now it's like, well, 2 to 5. So some of that, I can have it delivered with Postmates on my door. So
yeah. So let's turn, we have a few minutes left on the show. Let's turn a little bit to the personal side of Sandy Lohr and learn a little bit about you. How did you get to be CEO of a Matchcraft?
Well, I was on the client side. I worked for a company and we were a large client for Matchcraft. And I was running search for a large media company and running digital advertising, search being one of them at the time. And we ran search across eventually 5 different platforms and did a bake-off, and Matchcraft was the best for what we were doing, which was local businesses. And it's funny because a lot of those that we were running on before don't exist anymore. So I guess we're doing something right. But anyway, it was through that the company I was working for acquired Matchcraft. And then about a year and a half after that, I came on board. So I've been here for 5 years, but I knew the team. I'd been able to work with them for 5 years plus before that, actually 7 years before that. So I've known them, I've watched them grow up. And I saw how client focused they were, and that meant a lot. And the other thing that we try and do is just, you can count on us. If we say something, we deliver it. We're not, I was very concerned about vaporware. I am not a coder. I am not a tech whiz. And so it's been a great experience, a wonderful opportunity. And I couldn't be happier having made the move 5 years ago.
Your story sounds a little like, wasn't that old Victor Kayam guy, the one I liked the product so much I bought the company? Sounds like that.
Yeah.
Did you face challenges as a woman in the corporate world?
Certainly faced challenges. And how much of that was because of gender? I would say early on, there were a lot of things that I dealt with that today just would not even be a consideration set for being allowed.
Right.
And most of those were always external. So they were either client things or organizational. I'll share, as a Rotarian, once upon a time, I was the first Rotarian that the Trenton Rotary Club, a longtime Rotary Club, I was the first Rotarian that ever was pregnant. And if you know anything about Rotary, they're very strict about once a week, a luncheon. Well, what are we going to do with this pregnant woman? And so things like that you can laugh and look back at. I think, sure. I mean, the answer is yes, of course.
Yeah.
But, nothing, I think all of those things make you, if you're a fighter, if you're competitive, those things were good. I wouldn't begrudge any of those. They were learning experiences. They made me better at who I am. And you had to be. I mean, it was at one point, it was pretty much an old boys club.
Yeah.
And no offense, but I was sitting around a room full of you, and as the only one. And so anyway, and that's changed, and to the better. I mean, I think that's one of the things that the cloth of Matchcraft is so diverse that it's, we have 23 languages that we support on our platform, and a lot of those are from our own employee base in terms of our own native language consultants, is because that's where they're from. And so it's been, again, I think that the whole concept of female owned is fantastic, and what's happened and the equality and how far it's come, never an issue.
Yeah, awesome. Lastly, I just want to ask you personally, you're a busy person, you have a lot going on, work-wise and otherwise. What do you do for fun outside of work?
Well, I have a 2-year-old grandson, so when I can see him, that's number one.
Nice.
No, I love to walk. I like to bike ride. Beaches. It's nice to be where we have a beautiful beach here. Once they opened it, it was great. So that's been a lot of fun. I'm a hacker when it comes to golf, but I love it. And so I hope to be able to get back out and do that again. And I actually like the fact that I don't have to get the ball out of the hole. I like that. I call it bumper golf. It's kind of like bumper bowling. I kind of like that. It's helped my score. I was always the 3-putt rule too. So anyway.
Right. That's funny. I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. And lastly, in terms of outside information that you enjoy consuming, books, TV shows, podcasts, other than this podcast, anything in particular you're reading or watching or listening to these days that you're excited about?
Well, of course, I get most of the reading I used to do was on planes, and that's ended. But I'll be honest, I actually binged Tiger. What was it? Tiger.
Oh yeah. Tiger King.
Tiger King. Thank you. Yes. And I do think Carol killed her ex-husband.
Okay. All right. Now we know.
Joe Exotic said it, so it's got to be true.
Right. That's hilarious.
So anyway. No, I think that's been a fun one to just let go of.
Right. Total diversion, right?
Yes, complete.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed this discussion.
Thank you, Gordon. I wish I could have asked you all the same questions, but we'll do
maybe
that
next time.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Well, we've been speaking with Sandy Lohr from Matchcraft, a great entrepreneur in her own right and leader of a fantastic 22-year-old company. Really tremendous story. So thank you again, Sandy.
Thank you, Gordon. It's been great.
And tune in next episode for insights with other great entrepreneurs. And I want to thank you for listening today. And if you enjoyed this program, please subscribe to our podcast. We're available now on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, pretty much everywhere podcasts are played. And recommend it to a friend or fellow entrepreneur. And for now, this is Gordon Henry signing off.